Sure. I've grown up sailing my whole life, dinghies, small yachts, and now bigger ocean racing vessels, and have been doing that since I was maybe 12, 13 years old, maybe actually younger than that. So probably over nearly 20 years now.
Wow.
So for a really long time, and it's now my profession. So I'm a professional sailor, and
What a job.
it's pretty good. I'm pretty lucky. That's me in a nutshell.
Great. And Claire?
Yeah, very similar story to Alice. Grew up on the northern beaches, doing dinghy sailing. My family sailed as well, so spent a lot of my weekends down by the water. So it's always a part of my life. And then moving into bigger boats, inshore, offshore ocean racing, yachting, and chasing to become a professional sailor at the moment. So
wow. Wow, good luck. Keep chasing.
She's
That's
killing
great.
it.
Awesome. Okay, now I understand you two are survivors of a significant marine incident that occurred a couple of years ago just off Wollongong. Could you help share for us what's the reason that saw you on the water on that particular occasion?
Yeah, so we were campaigning a small 30-foot racing boat to do the Sydney to Hobart two-handed in that year. And as part of that process, we were planning on doing the Sydney to Gold Coast race, which involves a qualifier beforehand. So we basically put the boat together, get ready to go sailing. And the requirement is to do a 100 nautical mile passage that includes overnight time. So we planned the passage and picked a...
So that was from Sydney to Wollongong and back
Sydney
again?
to Wollongong, yeah. So we picked a weather window that worked well with the forecast. So when we planned to go south first and then turn around in the event that the weather went to the south, which was what happened and what we were expecting to happen, and then we could run back home to Sydney or run back home to Pittwater. So we actually went from Pittwater to Wollongong and back again.
Okay. All right. So a qualifying race for a pre-race to Sydney to Hobart.
Yeah, just a qualifying passage. So the requirement is that you complete the 100 nautical miles in your own time and you submit a log.
Okay. All right. And what preparations did you make for undertaking your planned journey?
We did the usual standard preparation before going out to sea, so the navigational side of it, so making sure that we were aware of the weather and the forecasts, safety. So in order to do a lot of the offshore racing, you have to meet a certain safety requirement. So we had all the gear on board. And then, just the other little things, like we knew which ports of refuge we had available, and had the boat all ready, food prepped. So
did you have
I'll add to that.
We'd
been training for quite a few weeks.
Yeah, and the training.
Yeah, we've been training for quite a few weeks, and we'd been on the water. We did a training block before our trip. Actually, we did like a week where we were out sailing around Pittwater and just offshore of Broken Bay, and we're spending heaps of time together on the water, which was fabulous.
Have you spent much time in your previous? Have you been sailing together for very long?
Yeah,
years. So we actually sailed. Yeah, we started sailing together when we were maybe 14.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So you have a good understanding of each other's, a working relationship that you have, let alone, I'm sure, a friendship, aside of that. But, communication, whether it's hand signals or verbally and things like that, obviously you're well in tune with each other and what you're anticipating or needing from each other.
Telepathically.
That's great. And what about on shore? Did you have contacts on shore, people who knew obviously what your race plan was and any contingencies that, and anything like that for you?
Yeah, we had a really great shore team. So our journey was one that a few people were following. So we not only had, people watching us on AIS that were, excited about what we were trying to achieve, but also my partner knew all about it. We had a project manager involved, the owner of the boat, family members. I was calling my dad on the way out, letting him know that things were good and that, the boat was ready. We'd done some work on the engine earlier that day and we'd ticked off all our jobs lists. So there was quite a community of people who knew what was happening and were following the journey.
Okay, awesome.
Use the rescue app check-in
as
well.
So, wow.
out, Alice got a call from one of your colleagues, I guess.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I spoke to a colleague, someone from Marine Rescue on the way out, and they were like,
Yep.
you know that there's some strong wind coming tomorrow, and we're aware of the strong wind warning. Our intention is to be home well before then.
Yeah, great. So our
that
app
was a
was
really fabulous
helpful to
service.
you, and obviously provided a communication method for you. Even so we could just sort of keep our eyes over your journey and make sure that we could keep tracking you whilst you're out there, which is great.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously an event has occurred, to the best of your knowledge and willingness to share with us. Could you talk us through your recollection of what occurred on that day / through that nighttime period?
I mean, so we started our passage. It was actually a beautiful night, and we ended up getting to Wollongong around, it was probably around midnight that we sort of got there and decided to turn around and come back to Sydney. And unfortunately, there was a catastrophic keel failure in the middle of the night. The seas were quite flat and calm, and so we hadn't actually realised the keel had fallen off. And so we were still sort of motor sailing around. And anyway, unfortunately, with the keel failure, the boat capsized in the middle of the night, and we ended up in the water, basically activating rescue beacons and asking for help for someone to come and rescue us.
Yeah.
Sort of the thing that you would never expect happened.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same
Claire?
sort of thing, except so with two-handed sailings, you do shifts. So it was Alice's on watch, and so Alice was on deck, and I was downstairs just getting changed, and that's when it happened. So I was inside the yacht when it tipped upside down and had to swim out, and trying to grab all the necessary safety things, but you can imagine quite disorientating, and at that point we just needed to get out and try and survive, I guess.
Right. So it was dark.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. So dark, but relatively calm seas at that point in time. Yeah, was it very windy?
No.
I think we had maybe 10 to 12 knots of breeze.
Okay.
The boat had we'd just started sailing again, basically, because we'd been motor sailing for most of the night.
Okay.
And it was just enough breeze for us to actually start sailing.
Yes.
And of course, as soon as the boat heeled over, that was the moment it decided to go for a little tip-top.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And to point out the obvious, were you wearing life jackets at the time?
Yeah, so I was on deck. I was fully dressed in my, all my gear. I had my life jacket. I was tethered onto the yacht, and I had a bum bag with survival gear inside it. It included a PLB, an AIS MOB device, a knife, a laser, a swimming cap, some glow sticks. I had all the bells and whistles in my bum bag.
You were going to the bottom if you didn't have your life jacket on.
However, the way that my bum bag opened when I went to retrieve said items, I actually lost the AIS MOB device. I only had the PLB. I managed to keep my knife, but I lost pretty much every other piece of equipment that I had. Okay. In the kerfuffle of trying to hold onto the boat. Sure. And stay above the water. Yeah, right. And then Claire was in the middle of getting changed, so her experience is quite different to mine.
Sure. Yeah. Claire?
Life jacket, no I guess big wet weather jacket, no safety gear with me, because I was basically had just taken my smock off and taken it all off, ready to put another layer on. So
wow.
Yeah,
you
really change.
No safety equipment, very little clothing, and over she goes, and here you are trying to scramble your way out. Yeah, right. Very scary. Yeah. Okay. So how long do you think you were in the water for?
14 hours.
14 hours, right. Yeah, clinging to the side of the vessel, or you'd managed to make your way back on top of a hull by then?
A bit of both.
So we were in the water for the while it was dark, and we managed to climb. The boat had twin hung rudders, so we managed to climb up onto the rudders and kind of hold onto those for the first few hours. And then when the sun came up, we worked pretty hard together to get on top of the boat and basically lashed ourselves to the sail drive or to the propeller.
Yes.
That was a bit more comfortable, but still pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. All right. So during your incident, and how did you feel?
Yeah, it's really interesting looking back on it now, what's about 3 years ago. And it often feels like it didn't happen to me. It's like some out of body experience now looking
Wow.
back. But
Okay.
I think obviously quite stressed
Yes.
and overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really weird looking back because it's hard to describe. I know Alice was definitely the very positive person in all of this, and I don't think I would have been able to get through it without Alice's positivity.
Wow.
But hopefully
Right.
hopefully got both through it. But I think
We did. It was definitely a team effort.
Yeah.
we helped each other through a lot. So I mean, there's obviously the immediate shock of
Yes.
like, even as the capsize was happening, I was like, nah, this isn't happening. And then I
Mhm.
was like, oh no, this is happening. So I grabbed the life raft and I started having a conversation with Claire, like, hey, we're capsizing, like we need to get the gear. And we'd literally done a safety audit a few days beforehand, so we had a plan. We had all the stuff. It was ready.
Yes.
It was meant to be. It was in the best spot we could think of at the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just an event that you never expect will happen to you.
Okay.
So yeah, shock. And then when we were in the water, it was really just about. I mean, I kind of just defaulted to like, okay, someone's coming. It is what it is, and we just have to it is what it is, and we just have to do our best to keep chipping away.
It was good that I think Alice did was she was like, okay, look, we're out here. We're not going to get rescued in the next hour. It's probably not going to be 2 hours. We're probably going to be sitting here for quite a few hours.
Yeah.
And the sun's going to come up. That's probably when we're going to have someone come find us. So we're just going to have to get through the next bit. I think that was really good. Like, obviously, it was a lot longer than that.
Yes.
But that was really good to get you through the initial bit of just
Okay.
like that mentality of like, just push. It's going to be hard, but get there.
All right. Did you have a communication plan with people on shore? So were you checking in with them on a certain occasion, whether that be hourly, every 2 hours or something? Therefore, people on shore could have raised the alarm if they hadn't heard from you by a certain time?
So we had a plan to be back in Pittwater by 7 a.m. and we'd obviously checked in on the Marine Rescue app, but we didn't have a specific schedule for like every 2 hours.
Okay.
So normally when we're doing ocean racing passages, for example, in a Hobart race, a sked would
Yes.
happen twice a day.
Yes.
At 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yes.
And so we were like, this is going to be, essentially like a 10-hour journey. Yeah. We'll be back by sunrise. I think our window for arrival was between 7 and 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, people watching and tracking us on AIS. But yeah, not a plan for sort of hourly or 2 hourly check-ins.
All right. And Alice, you mentioned that you lost a lot of your stuff out of your safety bag. Did you have any equipment at all to be able to raise the alarm?
I had a PLB, a small one of the little tiny devices, which we activated pretty much straight away.
Yes.
In the activation process, the antenna broke off.
Oh, no.
So I reattached it, and it was still. And with some of these small devices, they obviously don't have a screen to say anything what's happening, but they flash. So we had green flashing light.
Yes.
Green flashing light. Transmission. It's been transponding, and we were like, great, okay, we're just going to hold this guy up in the air and wait.
Okay.
That's
so nothing else. That was it.
Mobile phones were on our nav station charging. The VHF was charging.
Yes.
Our EPIRB was inaccessible.
Flares.
Yeah. All in our grab bag, inaccessible.
Yeah. Okay. That's a shame.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating because there were ships all around us that we could have
flagged right.
down.
So you could see vessels.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could see land.
Large vessels. You could see land.
Yeah, we could see land. We could see Wollongong. We could see the glow of Wollongong, and there was maybe 3 or 4 ships that were in the vicinity.
Okay. How far offshore do you think you were?
About 9 miles, I think, when it happened.
How many? Sorry.
About 6.
About 6.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So quite a way too far to swim. Better to stay with your craft and stay with the bigger thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's obviously considerations people might have is I can see the land, maybe I'll jump in and swim. But obviously we would recommend stay with your craft. It's a big thing. It's a big target to look for, especially if there's around that area, as we know, large shipping movements around Port Kembla and Wollongong. So yeah, probably far better to stay with your craft, which is thankfully the decision that you made. All right. What about helicopters and, did you notice any plane movements or anything like that above you?
So once the search and rescue did eventually get underway,
Yes.
we did see, it was maybe like mid-afternoon, we did see a helicopter actually fly over the top of us.
Right.
And I think just visibility wise, it must have been, I think we were speaking through Paul, he was speaking to helicopter pilot, and they must have been doing one of their turns.
Right.
When they search patterns, and it must have been just over us and completely missed us. But I think back to that, it kind of leads you to, we're not really we're wearing red.
Yes.
Which maybe you'd hope you'd be able to see, but on a white hull, didn't have anything that noticeable necessarily, because our keel, which is painted orange, had come off. So I think in terms of them actually being able to spot us, it would have been quite difficult.
Had the weather conditions changed since your vessel overturning?
Yeah, so at about 10 a.m. there was a front that came through, or the beginning of a trough basically, and we ended up getting quite strong winds, squalls, quite heavy rain, and the sea state started to increase quite significantly.
So significant by the time deterioration.
Deterioration. Yeah, we were what we were trying to get home before.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting because it was one of these systems where at Wollongong or south of Sydney, it was quite rough, but on Pittwater, where we're from, it was blue skies and a sunny, beautiful day.
As it can be on the water.
Exactly. And so, my partner and Claire's sister were coaching a sailing, learn sail program, and they were going, oh, it's beautiful weather, and we're there in this horrendous sea state,
right.
50,
and
50 miles down the coast.
Were they concerned about you by this time? They were just thinking they're out there having a good time, taking a little bit longer than they'd hoped.
Little curiosity, I think, of like, oh, I wonder where they are. But you try and not think of the worst, I guess. They're probably just thinking, oh, it's light wind, or they're out of AIS range,
or they turn their phones off, or
Okay. And they've got the confidence too of obviously the amount of training that you've had and the experience that you have that, you should be relatively okay in any situation that you may find yourselves in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay, rescue has come. What did that look like for you? Who rescued you? How did you feel at that point in time? Was it hard to leave your vessel behind?
Pretty excited to get off it, that's for sure. Yeah. I was pretty hungry.
Pretty hungry, pretty tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're having a ship who were the ones who spotted us, and they by. So at that point, once the ship had come by, did their horns to be like, we see you, they stood by while the Navy came.
Wow.
And then the Navy had a rib in the water, and so then we had to jump off the hull and then into the water, and then they pulled us out. And at that point, as Alice said, we were pretty keen to get off the hull. And
what I think was pretty amazing and critical in our whole experience was because we were in that major shipping area, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, the ship that rescued us, the Ariada Lily, they actually went past us. And I think my understanding was they saw something. They saw something in the water. They thought there was some debris or something, and they made a note of it. And then later on, when the distress call went out and on Channel 16, the boats in the vicinity were radioed to say, hey, there's a vessel in distress.
Yes.
I think the ship's captain went, oh, we should go back, and because that was in the area, and so they actually turned around and came back, and they found us.
Okay.
Which was an incredible experience, because I remember seeing them, and I remember seeing the name of the ship and thinking, we've seen them before.
Yes.
And they got very close to us, to the point where we could see a few of the guys on the bridge, and they were all just, hands on head, shocked.
Yeah.
And we were both
having a big ship coming towards you.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because it was like they'd seen us, and we knew that, while they may not have been the ones that could get us out of the water, we knew that there was someone who was around and that there was someone coming to get us.
Okay.
And then of course when we saw the Navy ship, that was just really
Right.
great. They
Yeah,
were incredible.
wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I've heard smart device. Was a smart device used at any point in time to make telephone calls or attempts to make telephone calls?
Yeah, there was actually an Apple Watch involved in so there was definitely at that point there was communication between I think it was like Marine Rescue, Yacht Club, like I think my dad had been on the phone, like Mel, they'd all been like talking and
Right.
being like, oh, this was like, later on, maybe just before we got the call out, kind of like, well, something's not quite right. And it was the Apple Watch call to the water police that then sparked the search and rescue, because it was like, okay, go, this is actually a situation, this is an emergency.
Right.
So basically we tried, so Claire was wearing an Apple Watch at the time that was not a cellular device. It was one that was connected to her mobile phone.
Yeah.
And we tried calling her dad, and we tried calling a few like numbers on that watch.
Yeah.
And obviously because it wasn't connected to her phone, it didn't work.
Yes.
And it wasn't until we were on top of the hull and we were getting a little bit desperate that we thought about trying initially 112. Yes. And that didn't connect. And then it was just like 000, and it actually connected. And through the satellite system, we got through to someone at the end of 000 who transcribed the message. I was like, call my partner. And I, gave him the phone number that I magically remembered.
Yes.
So they called him and sort of said like, hey, look, we've got this distress call. Is it real? And he's like, yeah, no, they've been missing, send the chopper.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, interesting. Like we only really were able to think straight and, think about different ideas, and that's how that came up. Once we were on top of the hull, we were settled, and we, were able to.
The immediate danger of out of the water onto something solid.
Yeah. And it was also something that we hadn't really considered was a possibility, because the device, it was connected to a mobile phone. You needed to have that connection for it to work. So the fact that it connected to 000 was a shock to us and to them as well.
Yeah, right. And the phone was inside the cabin.
Well, the phone sank. So I think the watch itself connected to a satellite and basically created its own phone number.
Wow. So you can credit your survival to an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Initially, the rescue comes later, but the communication method that worked for you in this moment, separate to all the safety equipment that you had on board, was an Apple Watch.
Yeah, and we had lots and lots of options for safety equipment, and it's still a shock to me now that was the one thing that we could actually get a distress message out on.
Yep, that's incredible. Well done to you, Claire, for wearing your Apple Watch.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. All right. Well, post-incident, are there any updates you can provide? Are you back out on the water now? You, hasn't hopefully scared you off the water, and you're out doing what you love to do still?
We're both up at Hamilton Island doing race week.
Okay.
And we've both just come back from Europe, where we both did the Fastnet race, which has been a bit of a bucket list item.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. We've both, done multiple Sydney Hobarts since then.
Okay.
Still very much sailing, still very much in love with the sport, and still in love with being on the water. So we're pretty fortunate.
And has any of your preparation changed for pre-racing?
Definitely more safety conscious, and trying to get that message across to other people as well. So getting our story across is really good to people to learn from, what we've been taught would work, and it didn't quite work for us. So
yeah, I mean, we both have done a lot of sea safety survival training, and I think that's, again, one of the reasons why we did survive, is because we had done that training and we used a lot of the things that we've learned, staying with the vessel, conserving energy, positivity, all of these skills are things that we've learned and we used. And so I still, obviously engage and employ all of those things, but I guess accessibility of equipment is a big thing that I now advocate to people and talk about a lot. And any racing program that I get on, I do tend to spend time with people saying, let's get familiar with the devices on this boat. Where can we put things? What happens in an inversion? What happens in it's a conversation that people don't normally like to have, but it's one that I've become a little bit annoying about. But
Safety 101.
I think it's a really positive thing, and people do appreciate hearing our story and learning from it.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you both so much for your time. It's really appreciated and very heartwarmingly inspiring. You know, obviously that was a significant incident that you experienced, but fortunately you're both here to tell your tale today. You know, and it's wonderful to hear that you are back out on the water doing what you love to do professionally, which is even, you know, a better way to do it as well. So yeah, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and look forward to hearing your race winnings in future. And please do stay in touch with Marine Rescue New South Wales. You know, we really value having you guys as ambassadors for safe boating on the water. It really helps us spread our message as well to just general boaters. You know, professionals do it day in, day out, but, you know, many people enjoy being on the water. So it's great to have you as advocates for safety as well.
Yeah, we're really grateful for the services that you guys provide too. It's really cool. You know, the app's amazing. It's so easy. You know, I use it a lot when I'm doing deliveries and things. So
that's
it's
lovely.
fabulous. So
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for your feedback. Really appreciate it.
Pretty great to have that service here in Australia.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
And thank you for the part the Marine Rescue plays in keeping us all safe.
Thank you. Yes.